Hello everyone, welcome back to another session of previous year's question paper analysis, your quick and smart way to stay ahead before semester exams. I'm Dr. RK and today we are diving into three classic topics that always find their way into your political thought papers. The Sophists, the nature of Greek political thought, and the legendary church-state controversy. So, if you have ever wondered what's expected in these answers or how to impress your examiner in just a few crisp paragraphs, stick around. Let's break it all down together. Let's start with the most recurring 5 marker or even 10 marker or even 12 marker in some cases. Explain about the Sophists. So, who were these folks? The Sophists were a group of professional educators in ancient Greece, especially prominent in the 5th century BCE. You can think of them as the first traveling intellectuals, kind of like today's consultants, but for rhetoric, public speaking, and argumentation. Now, here's the thing. The word sophist comes from sophos, meaning wise, but over time, the term got a bad reputation. Why? Can you imagine the reason? Because the sophists charged money for education, and more importantly, they taught how to win arguments, not necessarily how to find the truth. Famous names include Protagoras, who said, "Man is the measure of all things." That's a powerful line. It means truth is relative. What's true for you may not be true for me. Radical idea indeed, it is. Especially in a society trying to build democracy. They believed in subjectivity, moral relativism, and pragmatism, but their critiques, especially Socrates, Plato, and later Aristotle, said, no, truth is not just opinion, there is a deeper, rational, universal order. So, if this comes as a 5-mark question, you want to quickly define who the sophists were, mention their key ideas like relativism, rhetoric, and pragmatism, and maybe drop 1 or 2 names like Protagoras or Gorgias. If it's for 10 or 12 marks, add a little on. The historical context, that is, rise of democracy in Athens, then criticism by Socrates or Plato, and then their contribution to political thought. Even if they were controversial, they pushed the boundaries of thinking. They introduced individual into political philosophy. That's big. Now let's shift gears. A slightly broader question: what is the nature of Greek political thought? This one is usually a 10 marker or 12 marker, sometimes even a short note. The key here is to capture the essence. Start with the idea that Greek political thought marks the beginning of Western political philosophy. We are talking about the period from 5th to 4th century BCE, with names like Socrates, Plato, and Aristotle leading the way. Now, what are the core features of this tradition? Let me simplify it into 5 points. First, rational inquiry. Greeks used to reason to understand politics, not myths or divine revelations. For them, political order could be understood, debated, and improved through logic, just like debating assemblies. Second point is focus on the polis, P-O-L-I-S. Greek thinkers were obsessed with the polis, or the city-state. They believed the good life could only be lived as a citizen in a well-ordered state. Third point, ethical and normative. Greek thought wasn't just about what is, but what ought to be. That means how should life be governed, not how life is governed. Plato's Republic is a great example. He imagined a just, ideal society led by philosopher kings. Fourth point, human-centered. While gods existed, politics was seen as a human activity. Think of Aristotle's famous line, "Man is by nature a political animal." And that's central to Greek philosophy. Fifth point, class and citizenship consciousness. Not everyone was a citizen. Women, slaves, and foreigners were excluded. So even as Greek thought was progressive, it was also limited. Don't forget to touch upon the dialectical method, especially used by Socrates. This method of questioning became the foundation of democratic dialogue. In your answer, you can mention Plato's idealism, Aristotle's realism, and the transition from myth to reason. The best answers are those that link ideas to thinkers and show how political thought matured from the sophists to Socrates to Plato and Aristotle. All right, final topic, the church state controversy. Now we fast forward to medieval Europe. The setting is no longer Athens, but Europe in the Middle Ages, where the church, especially the Catholic Church, was the most powerful institution. The big question, who has supreme authority, the Pope or the King? This conflict began around the 11th century and continued for centuries. It wasn't just a religious or political debate, it was a clash of worldviews. Let's break this down. The church claimed divine authority, asserting that spiritual power was above temporal or political power. Monarchs, especially in rising nation states, pushed back. They wanted to control their own clergy, tax church lands, and appoint bishops. One of the most famous flashpoints, the investiture controversy, a dispute between Pope Gregory VII and Pope Henry IV of the Holy Roman Empire over who could appoint church officials. It got so intense that Henry had to walk barefoot to the Pope's castle in Canossa to seek forgiveness. A power move by the Pope, but also a symbol of the tug of war between religious and political power. Eventually, compromises were made, but this controversy planted the seeds of secularism. Thinkers like Marcellus of Padua and later Martin Luther challenged the church's political authority, paving the way for modern concepts of state sovereignty and separation of powers. For a 10 markers or 12 marker, you can answer in this way. First, outline the conflict, then mention key events like the investiture controversy. For a 10 marker, you can outline the conflict, mention key events like the investiture controversy, show how it led to the decline of papal supremacy and rise of secular modern state, and always end with the impact, how this led to modern political thought, especially in Renaissance and Reformation. And that's a wrap. To quickly recap, Sophists introduced relativism and rhetoric. Greek political thought gave us reason, the polis, and the idea of political ethics, and the church-state controversy set the stage for secular modern governance. These questions may seem historical, but they are the roots of how we think about power, politics, and justice even today. If you found this useful, hit the subscribe button and don't forget to check out our other episodes in the previous year's analysis series. I'm Dr. RK, wishing you clarity, confidence, and a solid 5 out of 5 on these questions. Until next time, stay curious, stay prepared.